Hello. Oh no, that's my wolf. I'm going to be doing my graphite wolf today. I'm going to be filming that later. But for this video, I wanted to show you this red panda. So I've been doing this for a tutorial for my Patreon channel. It's probably about 11 and a half hours, maybe-ish so far. Quite a lot of detail in the face, lots of different colours going on. But for this video, I wanted to show you how I was creating this textured fur. It's been quite a challenge. There's lots of colours. It requires so many different layers to build up the colours and build up the texture, but it's been a lot of trial and error. And so I wanted to talk you through how I've been working section by section, and finally I feel like I've got to the point where it's starting to make sense. It's starting to come together and the texture's working the way I want it to. After 7 years of drawing, it's still a massive learning curve, and there are things that I'm struggling with, things that I'm finding frustrating, but just having or taking the time to have a little go with some different techniques, and it's finally working out. So I'm going to talk you through how I created this fur, and I hope you really find it helpful if you're working on your pet portraits or maybe your wildlife art, or even the colours that I'm using. Hopefully you will really find it helpful. So let's get stuck in and talk you through the texture. Before I explain what I'm doing here, I just want to say that I've put a full layer or a couple of layers of luminance white pencil down before I start, so that the slice tool works really well with it. And I've also put a layer down of the burnt ochre, which is what I'm using now. So I've just gone over generally in the direction of the fur using big ovals and put a few layers down. You can still see the graininess of the paper at the bottom. And I think I've actually put a layer of cream and then another layer of burnt ochre. So that's colour blocking and getting the layers down to start filling up the tooth of the paper before I even go in and start doing this. So now you can see I'm adding more detail with the burnt ochre. I'm thinking about the direction of the fur. I'm thinking about how to apply the pencil so I can get the texture similar to what I see in the reference photo. You can see it's really strange texture. So I'm using a combination of kind of upside down C's or like smiley faces and the crisscross technique. So I'm not going in one direction with the pencil. I'm going kind of one way and then I'm crossing over with the other. And the other thing that does is it creates natural clumps. I'm going in with the terracotta now and doing exactly the same thing. As you can see in the reference photo on the right hand side, it's a little bit darker all the way down and it curves around the back, but there are light hairs within the darker hairs. There are hairs that go in all different directions, and that's what I'm trying to achieve with this. So I'm doing exactly the same with the terracotta. I'm going in and I'm using upside down smiley faces and the crisscross. On the left hand side, where the body kind of blends into the chest, it's really dark. So using the Caput Mortem Violet, which I found is a really good pencil for using with orange animals, kind of gingery animals. What it does is it creates this lovely vibrancy, and it's like a natural shadow as well. And what I'm trying to do is gently merge these colours so that the sun that's coming down on the red panda's back blends into the leg. The back, which is more divided, is a little bit further down, but at this point we need to blend them in. I'm now going in with the cream, and this softens the pencil strokes. It adds some light hairs over the top of dark. It's not obvious like it would be with a white. I know a lot of people get frustrated with their coloured pencils that they can't put light over dark. You can on pastel mat, you can on smooth paper, not as well, but it does show up a little bit, so it's worth it. It might be subtle, but it does show. Back in with the burnt ochre, and then the Caput Mortem Violet, and the burnt sienna. So what I'm doing is I'm constantly looking at my reference photo and seeing where the shadows are. You can see on the right hand side it's a bit darker, as I said, and then going in with the slice tool. Now this works so well because I've got lots of layers down. You really need to have lots of layers, and you really need to have a base layer of something really waxy like a luminance pencil. The polychromos do work if you put a base layer of a white down, but I found that the luminance is the best, or anything that's waxy. So a Prismacolor would work as well if that's what you've got. Coloured pencils generally have a mix of waxiness and oiliness. the softer ones are the ones that work the best if you're going to use a slice tool. So going in with the Caput Mortuum Violet, you can see along the ridge of the back there is a clump of fur where it naturally separates, and you can see lots of shadow. So I'm going in and I'm really trying to add some darker but more vibrant fur. It would be really tempting to go in with something like a dark sepia or even a black. I've seen people do that. They see dark and they think, oh, I need to go really dark, but that tends to look quite fake. It looks like it's too dramatic, too much of a contrast. So what we need is something that's really subtle, and the Caput Mortuum Violet has a lot of kind of purpley tones in, which work really well with the orange. And then combining that with the burnt sienna, they just work brilliantly. You might go in with the Caput Mortuum Violet for a start and then find that it's a little bit too vibrant, and then you can always go back over the top with the burnt sienna and the burnt ochre, which is what I've used a combination of here. You can see I'm going back in with the burnt ochre. It really does blend the slice marks. It softens those, it softens all of the pencil strokes that I put down, back in with the cream. You can see that the left hand side of the back is a lot more sunnier. There's light that's shining on it, and it's really bringing out the kind of warmth, the yellowy tones of the fur. And so the cream has got that lovely yellow tone. I might need to add a little bit more of some kind of yellow, but for now I'm just thinking about how this all kind of blends together. Back in with the burnt sienna and really trying to blend all of the Caput Mortuum, the burnt sienna, the ochre, and working along that line as well, making sure that that's nicely blended. It's not just a stripe, there are darker tones all around that area too, and then blending again with the same technique, the same texture technique of the smiley faces and the crisscross. Back in with the cream. So you can see how many layers it takes to build up. A lot of people, when they say my fur doesn't look realistic, it's because they haven't put in enough layers. They need to be blended. You need to kind of take away and add. It's not a quick thing. Coloured pencils are notoriously slow, but I guarantee it's going to be worth it. So back in with the slice tool, and you can see that I'm going to be going in and really lifting a lot of what I put back in, but you need those tones in first. You need the pigment down before you can scrape it back. I always used to think that about Bob Ross when he did a painting. He did all of that stuff underneath and then whacked a great big tree in front, but you need it there to show up in the background. And you can see I've added lots of different light furs going in lots of different directions. They stand out a little bit at the moment. My slice tool's gone behind my reference photo, but if you just have a look at the area that you can see that they're going off in all different directions. Some of them are curving up, and I found that that was really important to get this lovely texture of the red panda fur and create that look that I was going for. And then after the slice tool, I know it's actually rocking the whole table as well as the picture. This is the colourless pencil blender from Luminance. You can buy them separately. There's no colour, it's just a waxy look, and it really helps to soften everything. Just zooming out now to show you what it looks like from a distance, which is how you're actually going to be viewing it, and you can see that the texture is definitely there. So I hope you found that really helpful and got some good techniques and tips on how to get textured fur for yourself. If you want to see the full tutorial, it is available on my Patreon channel. I will leave the link in the description below. I'm under Samantha Clift Art. And if you liked this video, then please don't forget to like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.